The time has come for the lioness to tell her own story.
What do you have to tell the people about Ras Tafari?
Light to the world. The king of kings and the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah. I left himself. Where's ruler? Hey yo! Yeah. Hail them high, hail the black king on the 23rd of July. So tell them guy who praise God up in the sky, it's a lie. The Almighty living on your night. From ancient time them a try. Them Romans know them just open them suit and ties. Criminals ain't got no alibi, they stole my people. Then them come spread out them genocide.
Are you talking about slavery?
Them couldn't kill. The lion will come conquer Judah tribe. Go through tribulation, and I strive, see sufferation, and I still rise. That's why we tell them in America, live Rastafari in every ghetto area. We come to tell them in a Toronto, straight and easy.
So much family, Lion Pride, make sure you see what's going on here. Big up the sponsors, CBAS, Ramia King Design. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if you subscribe, you're part of the Lion Pride. This is a joy because I've known the sister for some time, but now when you see the story, you understand why, because coming from your childhood curiosity, the fascination with education, the acquisition of degrees, establishment of a family, which is an institution, establishment of the Haile Selassie Learning Center. What happens? This is I'm assuming a highlight time for South Florida Rastafari community.
Definitely. I like to say that the Haile Selassie First Learning Center brought Uptown Rasta and the ghetto Rasta them together, because there was a division.
Yes.
And that was wonderful to see, the entire community, because we had some real seminal programs.
Yes.
Like one of the seminal programs of the center was the Empress Menen Mother's Day event.
Okay.
So as opposed to holding Mother's Day in May, I deemed that was at the time when we were ignorant and we thought that March 25th.
Yes.
That time was her Earth Light.
Yes.
And so we would always have a Mother's Day event for the Empresses in the community. And it was beautiful. Of course it was free. Sistren would get upset with me because I wouldn't allow them to partner or help. I didn't want them to do anything. I just wanted them to come, sit down, have the Bridgmans cater to you, have the youths do performances, get your gift bag, and just feel, be honored.
That's beautiful. So the Brethren then planned the event with the eye?
Yes.
Okay, give thanks. And does this event still happen?
Yes, it still does.
So, how is the South Florida Rastafari community right now? Would you say it's still vibrant, or has it? Because I can say for Washington, D.C., we definitely are not in our glory days, Yes, we gather for ISIS, but we used to have ISIS every strong, for example. Now it's, a couple times a year. What is the vibration like in South Florida with the community now?
Well, it's the same thing. We're definitely not in our heyday. The eye came, as a matter of fact, remember, to the Redlands. Didn't you come to the Redlands? To the ISIS and the Redlands? I know that Brethren from Atlanta came.
I never came to
you didn't come?
Yes,
okay, well, I know Bingy Sean came,
yes.
and I know, your counterparts came.
Yeah, the cohort.
Yes, your
my
cohort.
Classmates, my Jerusalem schoolmates.
Exactly. And so that's when we were in our glory days.
Yes.
I mean, people would come from all over internationally, because we were such a very interesting Nyabingi house, meaning that we were very diverse. Culture, as you know, is from Haiti.
Yeah.
I'm an African born here in America.
Culture is your PR. You always talk about South Florida.
I know, because that's our foundation. Which was really, really important.
Yeah.
The Brethren, who was the founder, was from St. Vincent.
Okay.
We had ones. Oh man, it was.
What was the Brethren name?
Rasta Baby.
Okay, so Kingman was the
My husband,
Your
at the
husband,
time.
yes.
Mhm.
He was the one that was holding the ground.
Right.
So in terms of the other mansions, was there a presence in South Florida? 12
Oh
tribes?
yes, not 12 tribes, but Bobo
Ashanti,
Ashanti,
yeah.
definitely. So it was really Nyabingi and Bobo Ashanti, and then ones who were non-denominational. A lot of
Okay.
non-denominational Rastafari.
And I could imagine, because there's such a large Caribbean community in South Florida, that the community here was massive at one
Oh
time.
yes, absolutely. It was massive. It was very diverse, in thought, and it was thriving. It was a beautiful place for I, as a young Rastafari woman who didn't have any parentage from the Caribbean and didn't have exposure. It was a wonderful way of being exposed and people laugh because people say sometimes I sound like I come from the Caribbean.
Yeah.
It all depends on the day, right? But it's because, my bestie is from Trinidad. This one is from Haiti. You know what I'm saying? So it's a real positive energy,
And did you get to travel to the Nyabingi House in Jamaica or any of the other islands as well?
I did when I was about 21. But Miami also had something very special. We had the elders to come in, I believe, 94.
Yes.
Which was where I got a private audience with Bungo Watu.
Okay.
And where Bungo Watu and I like to tell this story really quickly because I know, the audience, you have a time frame. But I remember our Nyabingi house was a rebellious. We had gotten a real little, nasty little title. We were like we were a firehouse, but we weren't Jamaican for the most part, So when the elders came in 94, we were so excited because that was Bungo Watu, Sam Brown, Ma Ashanti. I mean,
these are legendary. Elders,
and we wanted so very much to have an audience with them, but we were refused an audience because the person who brought them didn't feel like we were worthy of an audience. So I remember at 21 saying, that's not going to fly. So I drove about an hour to where Bungo Watu was staying. And I remember just going there and just knocking on the door and saying, I want to speak to Bungo Watu. And I remember people looking like, who is this? Number one, Bungo Watu came out. First question right off the bat. Why can't women approach the altar and prophesy? And I remember Bungo Watu looking at me like, why are you so bright and fancy, And he said, well, because a woman has an issue of blood and she won't be able to preach or prophesy until she's gone through menopause. And I said, well, I'm 21. It's a long way for me, And I said, but anyway, women don't come to Isis when they have their cycle. So that really doesn't fly. So I remember, and at some point, he said, let me talk to you in private. Because people had started gathering around and it was clear I wasn't going to stop. We had a private audience. And I remember he began to quote scriptures from the prophecy. And something very miraculous happened. Every prophecy that he began to quote, I finished. Every Psalms he started, I finished. I had read the Bible, but I had no knowledge that I had retained it to that point. And at that point, he stopped and he looked at me and he said, the I is the daughter of Jesse. That was it. And then he went on to tell me some other things about metaphysics, transformations of Haile Selassie I, some things that were very deep. And at 21, I don't know if I necessarily believed them or understood them, but now I understand and not only believe, but know.
Okay.
So that was a wonderful experience too.
And give thanks, I met Bungo Watu briefly in Alderstone. And that was a very powerful, he stopped us at the gates of his gates and blocking Psalms and these things.
So you don't know, right?
Yes. I didn't get the full power of Bongo because that time he was bedridden. His health had failed. But the voice and the command, and we were there for hours where he was just holding court, And so I give thanks because I came in on the tail end of a lot of those elders, Ras Tafari, Bongo Watu, a lot of them I just was able to glimpse them before they transitioned. So in terms of that time now, what was going through your mind now? You're immersed in this culture. Are you completely disconnected from your African American family now that you're in Rastafari? Are you balancing the two worlds? How is that manifesting?
Oh, I always was very close to my family.
Okay,
if you can't beat them, join them.
Yes.
So my mother eventually started growing locks.
Okay.
Because when you stand firm in your conviction and they look at your life and they say, well, it's not so bad, So no, I was always very, very close to my family.
To hear that. So take us to the Lalibela Institute now, from the Haile Selassie. This is the glory days of South Florida. And I think a documentary should be made about that time. Because even myself now, I'm thinking, since I started doing this work, we need a documentary about the big girls in DC. Because so many ones are transitioning. That doesn't exist anymore, you know what I mean?
Right.
And we take for granted these things, but there will come a time when this is valuable for a generation to know how we, came about. So how did Lalibela Institute manifest from the Haile Selassie, or how did that transition happen?
Well, I realized that my vision for the Haile Selassie First Learning Center was no longer the vision.
Okay.
And so instead of really creating a battle, and really, because that was my baby, I gave birth to that.
Yes.
I was one of the parents.
Yes.
So it happened in response to what I did not see happening there.
Okay.
And also because I'd gone to Raleigh, I think in 2000, and I want to say 15 or 16.
And big up Raleigh. That's a key milestone in the levity. That manifestation, no matter how brief, was a very powerful manifestation.
Exactly.
But you went to Raleigh?
I went to Raleigh and I was asked to moderate.
Yes.
And the year before, I guess there had been certain charges given regarding what we needed in order to make the levity a bit more cohesive and a bit more progressive. So I remember moderating and saying, well, we need, again, more institutions that focus on our education. And since I didn't see the Haile Selassie First Learning Center fulfilling that vision anymore, then Lalibela Institute. And Lalibela Institute, just the name Lalibela itself, but I know about the rock-hewn churches.
Yes.
But I always saw those churches as not only churches, but mystery schools. Something intuitively said they're not only praising Mariam and Jesus, right? But that there's just like even in Kemet or in ancient Kush, these religious temples, they serve multifaceted purposes.
Yes.
And so I said, what would that type of what would that type of education look like in a mystery school? Because I'm from Jerusalem school, right? And so I wanted to create an institution where ones could come and get deep knowledge that they couldn't get anyplace else.
Okay.
And so that's what happens at the institute.
So what's the mission statement of the Lalibela Institute in terms of what is it? What is its aim and objective?
Well, its primary aim started out, the aim has somewhat changed to provide culturally responsive education.
Okay.
Not only for Rastafari youths, but for African youths, period. Okay. Right? But then again, I am an instrument of my community. So if the parents, if the mothers, showcase a need or express a need and a desire to learn more, His Majesty, he commanded me to teach in the vision. So I thought I was supposed to teach children. I did at one point.
Yes.
However, I now know that my classroom is my institute. My manuals are the books that I write, and the demographic that I serve is primarily that of the Rastafari woman.
Yeah. And it's last said the first of the Almighty. When they are set thrones of judgment to judgment, thrones of the house of the great King David, I shall pray for the peace of Ethiopia and Africa. Yeah. Well, every night, argument, morning come, sorry about how hard you went. No make your heart get hard like some sweat cement. Black woman, got to exercise patience. Every night, argument, morning come, sorry about how hard you went. No make your heart get hard like some sweat cement. Black man, got to exercise patience. Got to change the frequency. Seems like we disagree frequently. Mama shopping spree interfere with school fee. Daddy they a dance a floss for Hennessy. Every night them fight mostly over money. Who gonna stand up fight for the family? Haile Selassie, might of the Trinity. Gone with his queen with a baby in her belly. Still every night argument, morning come, sorry about how hard you went. Now make your heart get hard like some sweat cement. Black woman, got to exercise patience. Every night argument, morning come, sorry about how hard you went. Now make your heart get hard like some sweat cement. Black man, got to exercise patience. There's no need to raise your voice. Let's live in a one harmony. Together we can make that choice to live as one family. And please don't disturb the children's sleep. Be careful what you say, remember words cut deep. Sometimes it's better if you just sit in silence. Time to end this cycle of violence.